Hi, Rachel.
Hi,
Hello.
Monica. How you doing?
Yeah, looking forward to this one today.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
for anybody that's watching this conversation, hello. Great to have you
Hello.
here. Today, Rachel and I have made a date actually to have a conversation about something that we see often in literature or people talking about it. The the F things that horses do, the F things that horses do. And then there's three things that come up very frequently, which is fight. We all seem to know that that horses will either fight, or they will flight, they will run away, or they will freeze if something that they're not very happy with starts happening to them, right? And I just realized I say the three F's, and it might be a bit confusing for our followers as the forage, freedom, and friends. But this is different F's. So we're talking
Yeah,
about different
lots of
F's.
air.
Lots of F's, okay? So I'm going to let Rachel tell you a little bit about these because she also has a little surprise of more F's than we actually realized. And then I have one up my sleeve too.
Good.
Good. Okay. So maybe what we'll do actually is if I just I'll do the three that we all know about, and then you can take us to our surprises one.
Mhm.
So for those of you that don't know about the three F's, it's just something that we use as a mnemotechnic. Is that the right word? To try to remember, an easy way to remember what horses
Yeah.
might be doing when they encounter a situation that they're not happy with. Some horses will fight the situation, and that's where we see them biting and kicking and hurting people, other horses, ourselves, or us. Some horses will flight, and it's really they run away, but we use flight because it needs to have an F. And that's why we hear a lot about horses bolting and running and things happening. And then yet other horses will freeze. They'll just plant and they won't move. So these three are easy to understand and grasp and are quite common. And they're just an indication that something is not right for the horse. And we need to figure out why. Why is a horse fighting? Why is a horse flighting? And why is a horse freezing? Change that why and then make it better for them. Now, there are how many more? We
There's
talked
three
about,
others.
there's three others. Take us
Yeah.
away.
Okay, so the three less common ones, well, there's two less common ones and one that I think most people just don't think about at all. So the next one is fawn.
What does fawn look like?
It's about obedience. It goes hand in hand with learned helplessness. So it's a lot
So
about.
yeah,
Mhm.
so is it nothing? Does it have anything to do? Is it a totally different thing to this thing that babies do with their mouth? I thought because I thought that was also called fawning. What is it called when babies do like that with their mouth
Oh,
to moms?
snapping. That's snapping.
That's not.
I call
Oh,
it snapping. It is
oh,
that is
okay.
that is a sense of them allowing their elder to know that they are no threat. So yes,
Okay.
I guess it could be part of fawning, but fawning is much more
Okay.
of behavior as in doing something.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it is much more about over compliance, but with less engagement.
Oh, wow.
Where
Okay.
where they're constantly seeking approval, where they feel that reassurance is more important than the actual objective, constantly avoiding conflict, quickly submitting to the ask, but not in a way where they are fully engaged with it. And if you see it with horses, particularly if you get to see it within a herd, they are the ones that are peacekeepers. They are constantly looking to address conflict. And that
Okay.
is more or less how fawn is shows up, let's say.
Okay.
Shows up. The next one is fidget, and I find it really interesting because when Monica and I were talking about this, when I was talking to you, Monica, when I talked about fidget to people, it's really something that they've not really heard of, and it's really fascinating that you have heard of that one.
Yes,
So for me,
I had heard it. Yeah, as the fourth one. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wonder if we have the same. We think it's the same thing. I don't know. Anyway, fidget is when a horse can't stay still. I mean, I'm a fidgeter, and it's a way of particularly domestic horses. You see it in domestic horses more than or in feral or wild herds because they have a lot of space, so they can move and they can get we can release tension through movement. But often horses start to fidget when they're in a situation that they cannot resolve the conflict in the mind, or they have no ability to self-regulate any tension or any stress that they're feeling. And so because they need to move, horses need to move to be able to regulate their nervous system as we do as human beings sometimes, where we feel all pent up and we have to move and release that tension. So that's when you often get a horse that fidgets, that shifts their feet, that won't stand still. And what is the irony of that is that often that is something that triggers us to insist they stand still, and that insistence of them standing still creates even more fidget. And or it is a trapped version of flight. So they cannot, it's not even just about moving to release stress. Flight is when they run away. So they are creating distance. When they can't physically create distance, they start creating distance emotionally and mentally, and that turns into these shivers and moving feet or shaking the head or swishing the tail, all those sort of things.
Yeah.
That's how it turns
Yeah,
up for me.
like mouthiness as well when they're biting their bills.
Mouthingness, anything that is any movement that is going to release tension, even if it's the smallest amount that stops that pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Uh,
One
is
way that fidget shows up that I have realized not many people are aware of is when we go out for a hack, for example, and our horses are nervous in their head. They might be calm in their bodies. We think, oh, they're being good as gold, but their heads are racing. And we let them have a nibble. And if you are really observant, sorry, of the way they're eating, they're not grazing. It's a
no,
fidget. It's a
snatching.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a fidget that we need to be aware of. Yeah.
And those that ride in bits, I think that is, I think for it's not just, I mean, obviously there's pain, or there's certainly a sense of discomfort, if not pain. But when they are overplaying with the bit, it's again, and if you think about it, I don't know, do you know what a cricket is on a bit?
No.
Okay, well, it's more Western, I think. I think
Okay.
they have this thing on the
Uh-huh.
bit that rolls and makes
Okay.
like a clicking sound, and they
Oh,
can play with it with their tongue. And it's again, it's something that
yeah.
keeps them
So,
occupied away from that.
so so fidget is about moving with them when they can't fly away. Not
Mm-hmm.
that they would fly away, but they do say
But
flight.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. Okay, and so those are the four, or what now five that I had heard of. So I had heard of fight, flight, freeze, and fidget, which is why we started talking about this, and that's why we're recording this conversation now. And your four were fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And for
Yeah,
me, and it just goes to show, both of us experienced horsewomen in the world of the horses for years and years, and we're applying the same word to different things. No wonder people are a little bit like, what do we do?
exactly.
For me, fawning was that thing that babies do to their moms. And I find it fascinating that it's one of the, would you call displaced behaviors that horses do when something's not happening? Maybe not
Yeah,
displaced. I don't want to go to jargon, but one of those things that they do to let us know they're not happy. Let's keep it simple.
exactly,
Yeah. And
exactly.
okay, and then there's one more.
Yeah, well, I always add forgiveness into this.
Fascinating. I can't wait to this. Yeah, this is where I stopped you the other day. I said, wait, we need to record this because I have never heard about this. So go.
I think it's really, I do think it's interesting, but so without getting into jargon, and I think maybe Monica will simplify it. So all of these things, the freeze, the fight, the flight, the fawn, and the fidget, and the forgiveness are all controlled by the emotional and mental HQ of the brain, if you like. There's like a little hub inside the head, which is the headquarters of these experiences, and which is called the limbic system. But I'm not going to get into like all the jargon, like I said. But there is this space, and imagine
But
it's all
I
coming
love
in.
it. There's a headquarter of emotions in the brain, and that's where all
Yeah.
of this is being processed.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And in that is survival, and that's what all this is about, isn't it? Like fight, flight, freeze. It's all about survival in the end anyway. But part of that is forgiveness. And it's only slightly of it, but if you think about forgiveness, not as in they forgive or they, because we spoke a little bit about it being they put up with, and that's part of fawning, that's part of the learned helplessness. This is about why it sits in that same headquarters. It's not forgiveness as you and I would forgive each other, but it's about them regulating what they're experiencing and allowing them to understand and accept, but not in a fawn way, not in a learn helpless way, is to learn and understand and accept that actually this is okay. So when they go through that phase of learning, when we push them slightly past threshold, because that's where everybody learns. It's where you learn, it's where I learn. We don't learn sitting on the couch doing nothing. We learn getting out there and facing some anxieties to understand what's going on. And that's exactly how the horses learn. But there is a part of that if you push them too far, they're going to freak out, right? So let's keep it good language.
Oh, another F.
Freak out. So it is taking all that information in, understanding that, oh, actually, this is okay. Oh, I've actually learned something. Oh, I've actually stretched my knowledge. I'm okay with that. And that is forgiveness.
So it's kind of figuring out that what happens next is a good thing.
Exactly.
Ta-da!
Not a bad thing. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, when we talk about the two things that scare a horse, one, they don't know what's going to happen next, and they get worried, so they either flight, fight, freeze, fawn, and then when they forgive the thing in a different way. And I'm glad you've made that clear. It's not forgive as we understand forgive.
No.
It's just using an F word that will fit in.
Yeah, because our forgiveness.
Yeah, this thing that worried me is actually an okay thing. So what happens next?
Exactly. So it's the ability for them to be able to process stress, good stress, like healthy stress, and move forward so that they can remain engaged in the situation. So if you're working with your horse, you're playing with your horse, and you're pushing them, and you're asking a little bit more, or you're trying to broaden their horizons. So for example, if you've got a young horse, this happens a lot because you have to broaden their horizons for them to become a safe horse within a domestic setting. Yeah. So as long as they can process and continue emotionally, mentally, physically, and also remain engaged with you and the ask or whatever's going on, and importantly curious about it. Excellent. And remain connected, then that is them saying, okay, I went through that, but look what I've gained from it. And therefore that is a form of forgiveness in this sense.
Yeah. And as I'm listening to you, I have a thought. When you're talking about we have to expand, we need to get out of our comfort. There's this very well-known model of comfort zone, learning zone, panic zone. Yeah.
Exactly.
And when you learn about this, there are in a human, there are some physical is something they taught me as an instructor. You have to watch that your client, your rider or whatever, doesn't go into panic zone. And the way you can tell if your client is in panic zone is, you can ask them questions like, is your mouth dry, or is your heart beating fast, or keep breathing. So how can are there little telltale signs, or is that what fight, flight, and freeze are, that tell us that our horses have gone from learning zone into panic zone and are not learning anymore? Like, I talk about the tiny messages. Would you say fight and flight are already big messages, or not
Yeah, I would say
necessarily?
no, they're massive. If you've
Yeah.
already got them disappearing or being confrontational,
So,
you've missed every tiny message
everything
in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then from that point of view, going to forgiveness and understanding that they're okay has to happen. It's not that fight, flight, or freeze is then forgiven. Forgiveness needs to happen before fight, flight, or freeze happen, because those are three.
Totally.
Yeah.
And before fawn. I think the only one that has some sort of dialogue with it is probably fidget, because fidget is, as long as you've not got them strapped up, if they have a potential to move and they're able to, on the line, and they're just slightly, getting rid of some of that tension, then they start processing, and then they come back to you because they are still engaged, because they're still curious. I would say that probably fidget is maybe it has some parallel with it. But if they're already fighting or flighting or freezing and therefore shut down, then you've pushed them past the point where they can process. Yeah. And so you've lost them. When I put it down, you've lost them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's almost like they're forgiving the stress you created. I forgive you. I've learned something.
Exactly. I mean, again, it's a very human way of putting it, but why not?
Yeah.
We are humans and we need to understand. So, we
understand. Excellent. Super. Which leads me to my last F, the one we were having a bit of a laugh, because it doesn't exist. This is, guys listening to this is me just putting a bit of humor to it. There's another F. Am I allowed to say it?
Why not?
Sometimes horses just tell us to F off, and that's the other F. Yeah. When they flight and they fight and they freeze and they fidget and we still don't get it, they might just tell us to F off. And then that hurts.
Yeah. That hurts.
So why is it important, would you say, that we know all of these things? Why do we need to know this? Why do we need to know this?
Well, I think if we don't understand how far we can go, we will never know if we're going too far. And or not. Yes. That's exactly.
Sorry. That's my brain.
No. That's why we're so good.
Yeah.
There is not far enough, exactly, and then there is just the right amount, and then there's too far. But I think the borders of those two, that is the difficult bit. That is where we need to really understand.
It brings me to another F.
What?
Feel.
Feel. Yes.
Feel. That's where feel comes in.
That's where feel comes in, on the border of the sweet spot. So you have that border. So if you've passed that border over here and you've already gone too far, then you're going to be having a horse that is in fight and flight. If you are down here and you're not pushing enough, you will have a very bored horse, and one that is going to be so stressed because they're not going to be able to cope with domestic living. And imagine then you try and ask them to get into a trailer or go on a trail ride, and they have no life experience. So you have to constantly feel your way through this zone in the middle.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Because what you don't want is Monica's F over here somewhere.
Well, my F is kind of fight, flight, and freeze all put together, but really, really loud.
Yeah.
Full volume.
Exactly.
Double barrel. Excellent. So fascinating to have these chats with you, Rachel.
It is. I think for me, I don't know, what do you think? I think they seek, when they are pushed over threshold, they seek flight first. They don't fight.
Yes,
And
yes.
unless they're really traumatized or have had such an experience where they believe that that is their only option, they will flight
Yeah.
before anything else.
And I agree with you. I think flight is their first course of call
Mm.
when they're worried about something and they don't know what's going to happen next, or they do know what's going to happen next and they don't like it. Which is why I always, and I think you have the same, you say the same in your teachings. We never tie up a horse, or we have him loose while we're doing things like introducing a saddle or brushing him, or give him the opportunity to let you know that he would like to get away before he feels the need to fight you.
Absolutely.
Because you can see the tiny messages. That's why I'm like cross tying and things like that. Please don't cross tie your horse until if your horse is totally fine to be standing there and you've done this for ages and you know for real that he's not frozen and he's not just fawning like I have to stay here because I can't do anything about it. Please don't cross tie your horse.
No,
Please
I
don't.
don't think cross ties are a good idea for
Because
anybody in
you're
any
just
time.
giving options. You're just telling him, "Shut up! I'm going to do whatever I want to you."
Exactly.
So first they'll fly. So let's give them the opportunity to let you know they are thinking about flighting.
Movement is so important to horses in their expression and in, like I said earlier, to release tension. It's so important that to take that away from them, particularly when you're in a coaching situation,
Yeah,
makes no sense to me whatsoever, because in that movement you get information, you get feedback. You need
exactly.
feedback. Otherwise, you're just going to be blindly heading off and not having any gauge, anything to adjust.
And then suddenly your horse explodes, and you say, "Well, I didn't see that coming."
Exactly. It's just. I always say I've got. This is a bit funny because quite often I'm asked. Will you get, not so much now because I've passed it, but when I was younger and we were together, I was always asked, are you going to get married? And I always used to say no, because I choose to wake up with him every morning and I don't have to wake up with him every morning. And that for me is the same with our horses, particularly when you're cross tying. So ground tying, all my horses ground tie, or are able to move if they need to or want to, without correction or being reprimanded, because when they stay with me, they choose to. They're not married to me. They're just choosing to stay with me.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're walking around, we just have to see why.
Exactly.
Because that is a fidget. That's the other one. Horse.
That is fidget. That is fidget.
If your horse is tied up, let's say you're just grooming it, you're grooming it, and you're asking him to give you a foot, which is another one of our pet peeves, isn't it? And then your horse doesn't want to give your foot or moves around. Well, it's a huge thing for your horse to be giving up one of its feet when we think that he depends on being able to run away on all four of them. So
Absolutely.
he might start to fidget. So fix that for him. Fix the cause of the F. Fix the cause of the F.
Otherwise, you'll have another F on your hands and you'll be frustrated.
Just do a whole list of Fs.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lovely. Well, as always, Rachel, we could go on and on for hours, but I hope this is, if you've listened, thank you so much. I hope this is of use to you. So in a nutshell, it's a way horses communicate with us, and we have all these Fs. It's a alliteration that we use just for ease of learning. Fight first, then flight, freeze, fawn, forgiveness.
Fidget.
I'm missing one. Fidget. And oops. Oops. Now I've said it. I'm going to see if you edit it out or not. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. I'm going to go make myself a cuppa, and I'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Bye for now. Bye.